A visa restriction on Ghana. Well, what do you think? The U.S. government deciding to reduce how long a visa is valid for, mostly for Category B visa holders, which hitherto had been from between 3 months and 5 years with multiple entries to now just 3 months with a single entry. Well, that's what we talked about on Agenda on Tuesday, the 15th of July, 2025. We had a professor of law at the Ghana School of Law, Professor Kwadwo Appiagyei, joining us on the program, and he shared his thoughts on this new policy revision by the U.S. government.
Well, first of all, we need to recognize the fact that in international law, countries have the right to determine who enters their territory. But at the same time, there is also the idea that international relations call for exchange and interactions between peoples from different parts of the world. So the visa idea is to ensure that people don't abuse the opportunities they have to go to the other countries, or where they have some records which the receiving country doesn't feel that it is appropriate for them to enter the country. They may restrict such people from entering their territories. Apart from that, there shouldn't be any serious restrictions, as we are seeing in the case of the US with respect to many countries, including Ghana. So in that sense, it's a cause of concern because it hampers international relations, and it is a concern in the sense that it does not improve cordial relations, as already been mentioned by my good friends, in terms of education, in terms of commerce, social relations, and so on. It creates a challenge. And so for students in particular, it's a concern because here we are talking about academic mobility. And this is an important tool or process in internationalization of knowledge, which therefore allows for exchange of and free movement of academic students for purposes of conducting research, teaching, attending conferences, and so on. And so countries are supposed to benefit from each other in that regard, especially universities, so that they'll be able to improve knowledge production and conduct joint research and find access to information from various countries for various academic reasons. But it looks like as if the US is not looking at it from that angle, but from a different angle, which we can discuss more.
Lead campaign for Trans-African Tourism and Unity campaign, Ras Mubarak, was equally on the show with us, and he felt that if the US is not treating Africa right, perhaps Ghana needs to look elsewhere. I know that prior to coming here, you had raised issues as well because of what you're involved in, international tourism and all of that. What's your main concern regarding this very policy review by the United States of America?
Well, I mean, we live at a time when the U.S. keep shooting itself in the foot as far as international relations is concerned. And this particular happening is one of those erratic moments where the president wakes up, signs an executive order, without thinking through the ramifications long term of what this is, not just on its partners, but also on itself. So it's a move that I would describe as the U.S. shooting itself in the foot. Obviously, they have every right to determine who comes into the U.S. and who does not. But you also would have to take into consideration the fact that the United States of America is a country of migrants. And it is these migrants who have made significant contributions, to making the United States of America what it is. If you look at our nationals that live in the U.S., we've got about 250,000 Ghanaians living legally in the U.S. About 10,000 of them are students. All right, they are making all manner of diverse contributions to the United States of America. If you look at, some of the reasons that have been, assigned as the reason for, taking this, is the fact that some of our compatriots, tend to overstay. But we've also had instances where Americans have overstayed in our country. You know, so
But you're looking at the rate. You're looking at the rate.
It is a situation that has to be looked at holistically. I mean, the U.S. benefits if migrants go to the U.S.
But that is easier said than done. That was the argument of international relations expert Nana Yao Mreku, who felt that perhaps we needed to do more than just to say that we're going to look elsewhere. Nana Yao, should we be overly concerned, or the question actually would be, why should we be overly concerned about the U.S. deciding to review its visa policy towards Ghana and 3 other African countries, at least in the meantime?
Well, I mean, you already gave the introduction to what's been happening. I wouldn't say we need to be overly concerned, but at least there is some concern of a sort. Because if you look at Ghana's bilateral relation with U.S. and the fact that a good number of our citizens seek visa to travel to the U.S. For a number of reasons. It could be educational, it could be commercial, it could be social. There is that need for us to have that interaction, you know, with the United States. And it comes at a lot of inconvenience if these visa restrictions kick in and people have to renew their visas every 3 months just so they could have access to something they already did for a period of 5 years, multiple entry. And now it's being structured down to the number of months that we have. So I think that it has some implication for the business community, for the entertainment industry, for the educational sector within the country, to the extent that if these things are not resolved with a 2-month window opportunity they've given to the country, it will have some repercussions of a sort. So I think that there is some concern of a sort that as Ghanaians we need to be worried about, you know, going forward. And I am particularly interested in the educational part, because if you look at the visa categories that have been, you know, restricted, it's the non-immigrant visa categories, B1, B2, F visas, which is for the student, and then J1, which is the cultural exchange. I myself have been a beneficiary of the U.S. educational system, so I know how frustrating it can be when these kind of restrictions, you know, kick in. So I think that there's a lot of concern, like I said, for the business community, because now people cannot have what they call emergency visit to the U.S. There are people that travel to the U.S. 3 or 4 times in a month, and they do come back, you know, within short period for business interactions. So if they have to come back and renew their visas within 3 months, the money is in itself an issue, but the inconvenience of having a date to book for appointments. I hear now the dates are being carried on to 2026 and 2027. So if you have an urgent business to run in the U.S. and you have these visa restrictions, it comes at a cost. Now, I want to remind people that the Judiciary Committee within the U.S. is seeking to implement what they call, they are wanting to place a bond. They call it visa treatment fee or something, $250. So amongst the various restrictions that are coming, the new policy is that once you are granted a visa, you need to put in place this, you need to put down this cash, $250, you know, for them to guarantee that you are going to be of good behavior. And then the Homeland Department will then determine whether that money should be given to you or not. So there's a number of restrictions that are coming up at the back of these visa restrictions.
The way forward, well, we had the chairman of the Greater Accra Regional Branch of the Association of Ghana Industries, Tsonam Akpeloo, joining us in studio as well. And he felt that perhaps it's time for Ghana to begin a transactional relationship with the U.S. Do you think you're going to consider what Mr. Mubarak just mentioned, that if I'm going to be frustrated coming to your country, perhaps I may want to consider other countries that I can equally do the same business within?
Well, yes, of course, we are open to do business with every country, but the issue is that we already invested a lot. I mean, I've got business partners in the U.S. I mean, I can just receive a call in the next week, I'm on my way to the U.S. and so on. I can't imagine how I will not have a 5-year visa, you know, that's renewable. That's really going to be difficult. So I would rather prefer to say that our officials should work on it. I mean, they should engage. I mean, if you watch the posture of the current administration of the U.S., the leadership, they are very transactional in nature, if you watch their posture. So if I were part of the Ghanaian government negotiating, I would go transactional, because really that's what they want to hear. What are you bringing on the table and what are you taking away? So they should go transactional, negotiate, because a lot of our middle class really are very big in the U.S. market. I mean, the middle class will significantly be affected the business class will be affected if this is allowed to stay.
So, what do you think? Share your views with us on all the social media platforms of 3 News. And if you missed the agenda, you can also find it there on all our social media platforms. See you next week, Tuesday at 9 p.m.